What are some of the other key areas that you see as relates to crypto digital assets, the blockchain, some of the consensus models that blockchain and digital ledger technologies offer to really help impact our road to net zero?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, obviously, is the kind of basic answer, but I just want to maybe focus in on one, because I think that, possibly one of the criticisms of COP, but probably one of the necessities is that it has focused in on the biggest polluters. The focus is in on the US and on China, and on India, and to a lesser extent on the UK and whatever. And it's the focus on those companies, the big financial markets, the institutions within those, the very large manufacturers based within those countries, and I guess that's right for a kind of a big UN summit where that's being pulled together. I think one of the criticisms has also been the focus on those large countries and the lack of focus on low middle income countries, many of which are going to be the ones that are most affected by climate change, sitting in places that are going to be directly affected by flooding, by extreme temperatures, by not keeping below, or trying to keep as close to 1.5 as we can. And the issue of things like climate refugees, which we're obviously always seeing. There was incredibly moving climate refugee vigil in George Square in Glasgow last night that we were at, and I guess it's to me, addressing issues in low middle income countries, and driving financial inclusion and empowering people in those markets to make better decisions, and to move away from growing carbon intensive industries, which is what's happening in many of these markets. Plastic production is going up because people have more disposable income. Burning black carbon, burning of waste is going up because people have more income to buy more things and goods are more cheaply available. So what we don't want to do is create this sort of void where those countries are left behind, and their environment is trashed and becomes harder and harder places for people to live. And I think there is a direct correlation between inclusion, improving people's financial position, and their ability to kind of be part of this global movement, and to want to be part of it, and for their lived environment to improve as well. And I'll give you a great example of that. So DeFi in particular, which really replicates traditional community-based lending, which is what's been happening in Africa and other places for thousands of years, before banks kind of came along. So DeFi kind of replicates that peer-to-peer and community-based lending, and it's nice in the West. It's great. It's a nice to have. It's an alternative to going to the bank and borrowing money. But I believe in markets where there aren't banks, or that banks aren't going to lend money to most people. People don't have bank accounts, which is huge swathes of focusing on Africa in particular. Microfinancing, which has been on the lips of everybody for the last 20 years. DeFi has the chance to really be what makes microfinancing work, for for sole business owners, small businesses. The ability to lend money to grow their businesses in a sustainable way is massively important. And we have worked with we've worked with this fantastic small charity, Waste Aid, which is a circular economy charity, putting in small scale circular economy projects in places like the Gambia, Cameroon, South Africa, India. So places with significant issues with burning of waste, which is both an environmental hazard but also black carbon, and I think beginning to understand just how much open waste burning is an issue. So projects in those markets where they're driving for individuals to form collectives, buy compactors, recycle plastics for either reuse or for chipping for remanufacture. Well, how do those get financed? It's exactly the type of project which decentralized finance and peer-to-peer lending is perfectly suited to, because the finance is happening out with financial institutions, and it's being driven by the community and driven by improving that lived environment and feeding into this overall push of how do we, as a global community, keep to 1.5. So that's a tiny example. And I believe that this kind of community funding of small projects, which DeFi and the cryptocurrency space can deliver across the board and driving inclusion, kind of provides that bottom-up push, or can provide a big chunk of that bottom-up push, which is required, you know, in the same way that we need this top-down push from policymakers like Mark Carney and investors like BlackRock. It needs to be the whole thing. It can't be one or the other. So for me, I know that is the as yet unfulfilled potential of our space, is to really deliver this inclusion piece. We're beginning to see it. We're seeing it through adoption in Kenya and in adoption in Kenya and in Nigeria and other countries. And I think we're beginning to see the benefits now. The benefits now in those markets is not holding Bitcoin. The benefit will be in accessing, you know, the power of the market to deliver financial inclusion. So that's the exciting bit. That's the very exciting bit for us, and we begin to see that begin to fulfill its potential.
Well, I love that. And for all of you viewing this fireside chat, that is probably one of the most important things, I think, to take away, that the power of the blockchain and DLT technologies is just that. It's to allow communities, average folks, SMEs, to actually contribute to net zero targets, without the G7, G20 apparatus that most of us are normally used to dealing with. So Nick, that's an outstanding point. So thank you very much, Nick Jones, CEO and founder of Zumo, for joining us today. This is the OBE ESG session live from COP26, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. There's been some, I think, really critical data in this, not just about Bitcoin in the energy debate, but the role of DLT and blockchain in contributing to net zero. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lawrence.